The Windows 7 taskbar, what is it? Well, it sits on the bottom of your computer screen unnoticed and unneeded until you click the all-important Start button. But do you know all the tricks you can do with the taskbar? Learn to lock it, pin it, auto-hide it, make it smaller or larger, and link to critical websites to it. Hi, I'm Trainer Lori, and I'm going to be showing you today the Windows 7 taskbar. On the taskbar, you simply right-click on it to pin an icon right to the taskbar. If you have been searching every time you want to open Outlook, for example, and it's a good way to do it by clicking that search button, you don't have to do that every single time. You simply right-click on it and pin it, and it will always be on the taskbar. Once you've pinned it, it will ask, do you want to unpin the program to the taskbar? Well, that means that our icons now have some different looks to it. For example, if it's glossy, see how it has that rectangle around it with a little bit of whiteness to it? That means it's open. If it's dull, with no rectangle around it, that means it's closed. And to open the program, you simply click it and it will open the program for you. If it's white, that means it's active. In other words, that's where my cursor is. If I went to start typing, it would be in that word. In Outlook, you have a couple of options. Not only do you have the option for it to be glossy, dull, or white, but also if you have mail, the icon actually changes so that it has a little mail in front of it, little envelope. Jump list. Now a jump list is when you right-click on a task icon, and you not only see the icon for the task itself, the application itself, but you can see some of your recent documents. And not only that, but you can actually pin a document to that jump list so it's always there. So recent ones are ones that you've simply had open recently, but the pinned ones are there permanently. So how do you pin it? You hover over a recent document. That means you had to have opened it recently, and a push pin appears. How easy is that? When you click the push pin, it will actually move it then up to the top. Now, I've had people say, but Lori, I want to get rid of some of these. Well, right-click on any of them. Now, if you hover over your pinned one, it will have that pin. You can take off the pin. You just click the pin to turn it back off again. But if you actually want to remove it from the recent file list, you have to right-click on it and remove it from this list. But what if you have a whole bunch of them that you want to remove? For example, maybe you're in a shared work environment or at a library, something like that, and you don't really want to share all of the documents you've been opening recently. That's when we go into Properties. In Properties, you right-click on that area around the Start button, and you will find Properties. You can find it some other ways too, but that's the quickest, the easiest way to find Properties. There are 3 tabs. And you can see there's the taskbar, the start menu, and the toolbars, but we're going to look at the start menu. You may say, well, Lori, I thought we were looking at the taskbar. Why would I want the start menu? Because one of the options in here is to store and display recently opened items in the start menu and the taskbar. If you were to turn that off, uncheck it, apply it, and then turn it back on again, then it would delete all the things in your recently used file list. Whenever you hover over an icon that has multiple, notice how there are 3 lines here next to the Internet Explorer icon. That means there are at least 3 or more other the application is open that many times. You have different things working in there. So this is called the Live Taskbar Preview. You hover over it and it will show you a little thumbnail of what you have open, which is very convenient. Each of those thumbnails actually has a little X to X out, so you can close out of it without having to open it again. So you just see the ones that you prefer to have open. However, if you hover over it, and this is a PowerPoint version of hovering over it, then whatever it is that you're hovering over will open big, but it won't actually open permanently, because as soon as I move my mouse away somewhere else, it disappears. So if I actually want to work in that document, I must click the preview. So make sure you click it or it simply goes away. There's another great tool like this. It's called Aero Peek, and Aero is that glassy, transparent look that you can get with your desktop sometimes. Well, down in the bottom right corner of the the taskbar when you have the taskbar open, and I've made it a little bit bigger here so you can see there's this rectangle, and you hover over the rectangle and you'll actually be able to see what's on the desktop. However, I've had a lot of people say, I don't want to just hover over it, I don't want to just see it, I want to actually go to it. If you want to go to it, click it, and it'll actually go right to the desktop, but that means everything else is minimized. But if you just want to glance, for example, you want to just look at the date or the time, or if you want to see what program you might have on the desktop, that's a great way to do it. Just simply hover over that. Now again, if you go into Properties, which is on the right click area of the gray bar, the gray area, under the Taskbar tab, one of our options is there to turn off the arrow peak. So if you prefer not to use it, and I've actually had some people say they don't like it, you can turn that off there. Alright, so now you've got all these great toolbars pinned to your taskbar. How do you see them all? Well, we've got multiple options. We're going to show you 4 options to see more icons. The first one, you can see here, there is a bar here with an up and down arrow. That'll show you more of your icons. Another option, and this is what I've discovered after I first started pinning things to the taskbar, I didn't need that many things pinned to the taskbar. So I simply right-clicked and unpinned the program from the taskbar. Another option is to click and drag it off. But remember, if you click on, simply click and release, you're going to open whatever it is that your cursor's on. So you have to remember to click and drag all in one fell swoop. And our fourth option that I'm going to show you is to either use small icons, and you can see the start button is pretty big on both of these, but the icons are clearly smaller in the second row here, and that's because those are the small icons. And also you can see that I've got my combined icon. That means I have multiple Excel files open, and that is the default. But I've had a lot of people say, I really need to see each individual Excel document. I've got so many open, and they're open on purpose. It's because I need them all. So you can non-combine them. Again, that's under Properties, under the Taskbar tab, and so you have the option to always combine, that's the default, or never combine. So if you never want to combine them, you always want to show them individually, you do have that option. And this is also where you're going to find your Use Small Icon option. So you just simply click that. However, you have another option here, the Auto Hide the Taskbar. So if at the bottom you want it to go away when your mouse isn't anywhere near it, you actually have that option to auto hide it. And then when you scroll back down with your mouse, it pops up again. I found that distracting. I don't care for it, but I know a lot of people do like that. You also have the option here to lock the taskbar. If you have a tendency to accidentally delete it or move it and you don't want it to do that, you can lock it so that it stays put. In the bottom right corner, next to your arrow peak button, you'll see the time. And a really cool thing, you click on it and you can change the date and time settings so that you can actually have up to 3 clocks show. So if you're always dealing with different time zones, for example, I had someone ask me about India. They do business with India, and that's kind of an odd time zone. They actually are on the half hour, and so it might make sense to be able to see that whenever you need to. The old system tray icons were always showing, and it was fairly distracting if you really didn't need some of those tools. So now it is on an up arrow, so you click the up arrow and you'll be able to see the hidden icons. However, if you right click, you're going to see different things than if you left click. So this is a left click on the power button, but if you right click on it, you have other options. And you're going to have that all along the system tray. So for example, for the sound, you have a left click and a right click option. And for the internet, you have a left and a right click option. And notice the right click is how you can turn your Wi-Fi on or off. A lot of people have asked me about that one. Another property is the Toolbars tab. In the Toolbars tab, you can choose to turn on the desktop. That means that I will now have an icon on my system tray. And then you click the double arrow and it will show you all the things that you have on your desktop. So you don't actually have to see the desktop, or worse, you don't have to minimize everything to get to the desktop to be able to choose the one thing that you're interested in that happens to be on your desktop. Also, in Internet Explorer, if you use your favorites bar, not the star with the favorites here, which is vertical, but the horizontal one that's here. And I call this very prime real estate because there's only so much space allowed on there. So I rename all of my favorites that I use all the time and put it on that bar. However, I don't even have to go in Internet Explorer at all. If I click links, it will actually put the links right on the system tray. And I can go to it without ever having to open up Internet Explorer. Just FYI, you also have the option for address if you like the address bar from Internet Explorer, so you can type in www.trainerlori.com, something like that. Then that's what the address tool allows you to do. Now this really isn't the taskbar, but it's such a cool tool I want to show it to you. And that is using your Windows button along with tab. Now hopefully you've used your control or your alt key with tab to allow you to flip through different programs, but this is actually a 3D flip. It's like a parade. Now I'm going to show you the PowerPoint version of it so you get the idea. It actually flips through all the different programs that you have open, because you can have so many programs now in Windows 7, especially as your computer is newer and you have more information on it. Well, I suggest that you either use this or lose it. So this is what I would suggest that you do with this information right now. I would use the Windows plus tab, practice that tabbing through the flip 3D option, and that you pin a program that you use all the time to your taskbar if you haven't already done it. Remember, that's on the right click. And also go into properties, right click on that gray area around the start, and your gray area might be a different color based on your theme that you've chosen, but you know what I mean, the area around the taskbar, around the start button, and go into properties and maybe add toolbars or change your taskbar so that it does exactly what you want it to do.